Well, thank you, Ben, and hello, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. Well, swimming against the current is one strategy, but I can tell you, I will try to convince you that enjoying the drift is the better way if the current becomes the everyday life. So I will show you a little bit out of my toolbox that I was trained and had the pleasure to learn with so many innovators at Amazon. And one of the biggest things that came up as number one, and that I had to learn as number one, is think big. It sounds so easy, but it's so hard to really think big. The simple thinking behind that, if you think small, you're going to accomplish small things. And then you need to find another small thing. If you learn how to think big, you might be on a journey forever, but you have a chance to achieve something really big. I give you an example. One of my favorite examples is this. To the right, you have a president, right? Easy. The boss makes a statement. Hey guys, we're going to the moon, right? In 1962. Behind this picture is more than 100,000 people that worked for 7 years to build the rocket, test the rocket, do everything. You don't see them. What you see here is the 3 astronauts whose job description was, look guys, we're going to sit you on a rocket full of explosive gas. You're going to fly to the moon, you do a little walk, you go back up and fly back to the Earth. Nobody ever did it, but you're going to be fine. But look at the faces. They're onto something big. They're smiling. Aldrin, Armstrong, Scott. They knew what's going to happen. They're going to move something big. So this looks less fantastic, right? It's Jeff Bezos, my former boss, who wrote a shareholder letter in '97, which still, as of today, gets added to every shareholder announcement of Amazon. Because in this letter, he describes the vision of Amazon. And no, it's not about a bookseller. And no, it's not about selling devices or whatever, right? In brackets, he would say, we're going to use the internet to make the life of the people easier. That's a never-ending task, because you and me, we will never stop for asking to make our lives easier and more comfortable. And he said it's day one, and this day one became so important that still of today, it's day one. If you go on a journey like this, something is really clear. You gotta invent and simplify. There is no way, right? There was no company doing internet retail at that time, not of size and relevance, right? So you got to be on a journey to innovate and simplify. And that's a very interesting journey, because I show you a picture from Jeff's first office. This is Jeff with a reporter sitting at his desk with his fancy computer in '97 and explaining the reporter what the mission he's on. And by the look of the journalist, you can see the skepticism. And this skepticism is something you need to be becoming very comfortable if you're on an innovator roadmap. If you're out there showing something new, presenting something different, a new way, a different attitude, a new thing, don't ever believe that everybody in that room will say, oh great, this was about time. There's minimum half of the people will be skeptical or not see the sense in it. So you need to be willing to be misunderstood to be a great innovator. By the way, as Ben said, I was looking for a tech company in '98, a US tech company, because I built management information system in the fashion industry, also introducing email. My headhunter called me and said, hey, take a look at Amazon. I said, Amazon, never heard of it. I want to take a look at Microsoft or Dell or Cisco, because there was no Apple, Google, whatever you know today. So these were the big companies. So I go into the internet, '98, the store had just launched. It looked like the store that you see on the screen. And I said, hey, it's a bookseller. Why would I ever go to a bookseller? And he said, no, talk to Jeff. Jeff believes he's building a technology company. So I talked to Jeff, and Jeff would pretty much say, look, Ralf, I have no freaking clue what we're going to do. I only know it's going to take a long time and it's going to cost a lot of money. And I said, on to this mission, right? Because this sounded like a very truthful statement of what you should expect. I did my homework. I looked at Germany. Germany had 3 million households in '98 with internet access and a computer at home. No credit cards, of course, everything paid in Deutschmark, no flat rates, no mobile phones, no nothing. If you look at that stage, you would say, this will never, ever work. But the simple sentence that helped me was, why do you look at the present? Close your eyes and think about the future. What do you want to see in the future? Everybody can see what you see today. But the tricky part is, what do you want to see in the future? And that's what we then learned. I wanted to be big and bold, so I gave my team a mission. I said, we're going to go from 10 to 10 in 10. From 10 million euro revenue to 10 billion euro revenue in 10 years. Everybody said, he's crazy. Yeah, maybe. But what I wanted to prevent is that anybody falls into a pattern of thinking this is going to be a +5, +10% year-over-year plan will get us there. No freaking way. If you want to go from 10 million to 10 billion, you need exceptional ideas and you need an exceptional performing team that steps beyond it. Were the currents? My God, every day, right? I mean, I picked a few just to give you a few current examples. In 2002, Amazon was not going bankrupt when the bubble burst. But what you see is the share price of Amazon, which fell from $200 to $6.97. So the company was just surviving because we had a bond placed on Wall Street a week before the bubble burst. We were not smarter, we were luckier. Right? It's something, a current that you can't see coming, but it makes you stronger because it forced us to rebuild the company. Out of 4 websites, Japan had already joined us at that time, we had to build one new platform. So we teared everything down and built a complete new company out of this current, which then helped us to grow. 2007, some guy from Cupertino was on stage and held up the thing that now everybody, or almost everybody, has in his pocket, the iPhone. 2007, right? Sounds like yesterday. But this thing changed the way we had to operate. Because up until then, everybody was thinking about, oh, screens are going to get bigger, so we get more content on it and can make it longer. And then all of a sudden, this guy from Cupertino stands there with this 9 times 15 centimeter device, and we were saying, oh my God, we need to switch the complete way we're thinking about building websites and redo our complete configuration. By the way, if you use the mobile version of Amazon, you will still see how hard this is and where it really where the company struggles to find the right way to do so. I go a little faster. When some of your last mile carrier, I took the UK in this kind, British Royal Mail unplugged us because they said we can't invest more in last mile energy. What did we do? You could go like, oh, we need to do less business or do something else. We started our own delivery fleet. And in the UK, for example, 100% of all packages today are delivered with our own delivery fleet, which made us much stronger because all of a sudden we are the ones deciding when is the truck leaving, what is in the truck, what kind of service does it deliver, and we're not dependent of last mile anymore. So this is now worldwide the #1 service unit that we got out of this unseen current. The other one, if in Germany everybody all of a sudden wants toilet paper, that's totally unexpected, right? That's happened, what the coronavirus pretty much did. You had to cut down a store that was managing Earth's largest selection, that's the vision. So I give you a number. The German website roughly has 450 million items buyable on the website. So if you now go to the store, you can pick from 450 million items that you can pick and choose and ship to your home. And all of a sudden you have to go down to 100,000, including toilet paper. But it taught us how to manage our selection any different. And if you can manage 100,000 different, you all of a sudden can think about, okay, in an urban region, could we do faster delivery on 100,000 ASINs? Could we do 1 hour, 2 hour, everything? So you get out of this current, which looks like you're going to drown and it's going to kill the company. You get out stronger. The thing that is the magic is customer obsession. You need to know who are you doing this for. So the question, for example, when the iPhone came up was not should we do this, should we not do this? The question was, are customers using this device? Yes or no? And you find figures and you find facts. And if the answer is yes, don't ask yourself whether you should do this or not. You have to do it if you want to stick to your customer. And customers, finding the customer obsession is not that hard. What you see here is the original drawing of things that Amazon is totally focusing on and investing in. It's lower prices, because the likelihood that customers in 10 years will come to Amazon and say, hey, can I have this a little more expensive, is very low, right? So any knowledge, any science, any technology, any tools that you build around prices will be there forever. And by the way, you don't need to look into the future and ask yourself, is prices important in the future for customers? Ask yourself what has not changed in its importance over the last 100 years, and prices is amongst those. Selection also, convenience, so I won't talk about them. If you think about innovators, you always think about, oh wow, so somebody comes out of the cellar and says, here it is, I found it, right? Innovation. But really disruptive innovation is almost invisible. I show you 3 disruptive innovations that are invisible. If I asked you, name me 3 innovations from Amazon, you would have not named customer reviews. But in fact, it was the first website that allowed customers to talk about their experience with the product or the company. I was called by electronic manufacturers and they said, do you know what your customers write about our devices? Because customers not always write nice things, they also write the bad examples. And I said, yeah, but why do you talk to me? Talk to your engineers. You need to work on your product, not on the guy that surfaces you the bad news, kind of the messenger. Free shipping was one of the last, most important things we introduced starting in Germany with one thing in mind. It reduces complexity. I don't know about you, but I'm not going to the Amazon store to do mathematics. Right? Like I buy this item for $6.49 and then I have $3.22 shipping. Just tell me what you deduct from my bank account. So we said the best way to show the customer what we will deduct from his bank account is not let him do mathematics. So not let him do adding on shipping costs, because it doesn't really matter. You take my money, whatever you name it, right? Just call it what you call it. And one click is the thing that I would have never learned in a department store, which is pretty much get the customer as fast as possible out of the store. Department stores do right the opposite. I was at Kaufhof, very early stage, my first job, and you would learn that in the food department, you put as much as possible in the way of the customer, especially the things he not need, on his way to the milk, which is at the very end of the store. So you do this slalom through all this product that you not need just to get a bottle of milk. And we had said, no. If the customer wants to leave the store, we get him out in 30 seconds. And everybody said, that's crazy. We said, no, customers are not crazy. They will spend more time if they have time, and they will come back if they won't come back. But if they just want to get out of the store, let them out of the store. Right? So these are 3 very powerful innovations that you wouldn't necessarily connect as an innovation. You would usually look at stuff like this, right? The Kindle reader or video streaming or the drones that are flying. At the moment, it's a satellite system that get launched. But these are all maybe disruptive innovations or maybe big failures. If you invite me again in 5 years, I might stand here and tell you, oh, I wish we would have never did drone development because that was a complete failure. You need to learn to talk about your mistakes, right? When Amazon launched the Fire Phone, which was supposed to be better than the iPhone, the customers didn't agree, and the company burned 150 million at least, right? Because it was a mistake. But the question was not who did that mistake. The question was, why were we so convinced this is a winner? And so the device got teared apart, and out of the device, Amazon was able to build the video stick, for example. That's the most ever sold device anytime, right? Because it has some parts of the technology, dual antenna, to make streaming more visible. So I end with my secret ingredients for success. And hope that you can take them home. So the first and most important, make mistakes, be proud about them, and talk about them. I know it doesn't feel well. I'm not going to Seattle to sit opposite Jeff and say, hey, Jeff, I made a mistake. Yeah, and Jeff goes like, oh, super, nicely done. That's not how it's going to work, right? But still, mistakes are the best opportunity to learn. And you need to figure out to build a trusted environment where everybody, your employees, your partners, your sellers, your vendors, talk about mistakes in a way that is not asking who did that mistake, but what happened. Can we go deep and understand and learn from it? Stay curious. I mean, everybody will tell you lifelong learning. I learned something more important. Unlearning. There is stuff that I learned at a time when technology was different, society was different, customers were different. Learn how to unlearn, because you carry that stuff with you and you still think it's valuable. It's not. When I'm working for startup teams, which I support, I'm sitting with young, new company owners. And they present me something, I go like, oh God, I never heard about that. How old am I? I'm definitely older. But be open, be curious, and listen. And if it is a new technology, play with it, right? Everybody talks about AI. AI exists. The big AI wave that we launched at Amazon was 2011, right? We started with machine learning, which is a subset of AI, to make our logistics more effective. So AI is not magic. Look at your cell phone. Look how many AIs you have installed on your cell phone and play with it. You will see how stupid AI can be, and you can see and experience how helpful it can be in some cases. But it's not that vague thing. I just encourage everybody to just go out there, play with it, and smile if you find a mistake. Thank you very much. Enjoy the day.